So guys, thank you and welcome for coming along to this conversation. We're just going to start off with some brief introductions and then we'll dive right in. My name is Tom. I help lead up the Web3 side of marketing for Jukebox. And so come and talk to me about your project afterwards if you want to help grow in the space and elevate your brand. But yeah, so we have Zack here as well.
Hey, what's up everybody? I'm Zack Deris. Shout out to all the music heads in the room. I hope you're all excited for this conversation. I'm the founder of ZDTS, which is a sales training, growth and marketing agency. We really specialize in training and supporting agencies in the Web3 space, build community, develop partnerships, and music is a passion for myself as a rap artist, an up-and-coming rap artist, so we're going to dive into this. It's going to be really fun. So appreciate you all for having me. Shout out to you guys.
No, I don't. Hi, everyone. I'm Matthieu Corosine, founder of MOGA Festival and organizer of many events, such as Plage Electronique in Cannes, Dune Electronique in Tunisia in the Star Wars movie set, and MOGA both in Morocco and Portugal. Actually, we had our last edition last weekend, so a few days ago, in Caparica.
My name is Paul. I founded a event music discovery platform called Resident Advisor. It is and has operated in electronic music since 2001. So very much, Web 1, OG, whatever you want to call it, but looking at the exploration of where things go from here.
Awesome. So, yeah, we've met everyone now. So, ladies and gentlemen, music enthusiasts and fans of the future, welcome to this electrifying discussion, which is on a topic that ignites the imagination. The topic that we're going to be discussing today is live the future of Web3 music? So, yeah, we'll start off with the first question, which is, how does Web3 technology transform live music experience, and what unique opportunities does it offer its fans and artists alike?
I would say connectivity is the most important thing. If we roll back to the beginning of COVID in 2020, so many independent music artists, they lost so much money. They lost the way that they live, they lost the way that they provide for their families because they weren't able to activate two of the biggest forms of the finances that they would generate, and that would be touring and being able to sell their merchandise. So many artists were trying to find new ways through technology to communicate and interact together with their fans. You had people like Tech9, who is a pioneer in the hip-hop space as an independent artist, who did live concerts every single week, and then he would stay on the Zoom for 4 or 5 hours, speaking one-on-one to each of his fans. And that's like 300 or 400 fans at a time, purely on the basis that they had such a big presence by being able to meet their fans live at the venues during the meet and greets. They weren't able to do that. That was taken away. So when you put into perspective how channels like Zoom and Google Meet or other conferencing platforms were able to help them, it was good, but it didn't give them what they really needed. This is why it was really important as we move on to 2021. Platforms like Decentraland and Spatial, they allowed music festivals. They allowed artists to actually build a digital environment where it could be a concert. And that's an area I'll dive into a lot more, but I think connectivity and the ability to get closer to your fans and for the fans to get closer to the artist is the number one most important thing that we should all consider.
As a music event and festival promoter, I'm very concerned by the role and the purpose of NFTs in live music. I would consider NFTs a tool that is part of the future of live music, but not the future of live music, as it answers to a few problematics that we face. Sometimes are positive, sometimes negative. One example, last year, we had a festival goer who spent 5 days dancing, and she showed us her like a podometer and told us, find someone who danced more than me this weekend. And I actually tried, and I couldn't find anyone. So this person materialized her experience through her podometer and showed that she was like one of the best festival goer in the festival. And in exchange, she asked me for an invitation for next year and a necklace as a token of her experience and of her performance. So that NFT answers that directly, like to put a utility in the performance or the accomplishments or challenge that the festival goers are going through. Second, more of a business part, we need to provide more and more experiences to our sponsors. And we went to the phase of having beach banners everywhere and having posters of the brands everywhere, but this doesn't work anymore. As the sponsors always ask us to go ahead and provide experience and provide a special link between the brand and the festival goer, then NFTs answers that as well. So I just wanted to show like 2 examples of the way we are approaching this technology and this whole concept. I could talk about it for hours, but yeah, to resume what I was saying, it's part of the future, but not the future.
I think it's a really good segue, and want to fully support and thank you for your work as a promoter. I think people, maybe not everyone understands how central promoters are to clubs, music, festivals, events, and live. And I think what COVID showed was how powerful and important those live experiences are, both in the individual's ability to let go of everything else in the world and be present physically in a space. That's not something that I think benefits from digital distraction in a physical, personal, present moment. So I think there's effectively like 2 worlds in which we could debate and discuss, which is metaverse and digital environments and the physical experience. So I think, like, to answer the question, I think respect and protection of that physical experience is really powerful. Working out where NFTs, Web3 communities and technology can, I guess, accentuate the peripheral sides to the real world experience is where a lot of power is. The representation of community and access, the memorabilia side to you were at this show at this time and you have that ticket stub that you historically might have kept. The kind of digital artifacts and collections that you hold become really meaningful, but I personally don't see there being a singular answer to the question.
No, great to hear the different viewpoints on that as well. Now, just to go off the back of that question, have any of you seen any really impactful, successful Web3 use cases in live music events, and what would be the most successful use case that you have seen?
Yeah, cool. I'll go. I'm actually super grateful to be a part of this because I helped build the concept for this. There's a rap artist from Arizona in America called Futuristic. A lot of you may know Futuristic from the really super viral clips that you saw back in 2015 and 16 where there was a geeky guy, a guy dressed up as a geek, and he would go to Compton or to schools and he would start to rap for people. That's how his career began. And he's been a pioneer in independent music to a point where he's always trying to bend genres. He's always trying to find a way, okay, if I can make a really fast rap album, can I do an album for the ladies? Can I do an album where I'm just doing collaborations? And in 2022, he decided to make a rock album, which is completely genre bending for him. A lot of his fan base initially, they were like, we're not down for this. We love the super fast clickety, rapidly stuff, but then he began to onboard a new type of fans. So he was trying to think to himself, okay, how can I launch my album in a completely different way that hasn't ever been done before. So what we did was we built a customized metaverse experience for Futuristic. The moment that people would go into the metaverse, they would have almost kind of like a Hall of Fame wall where it had all of his albums, all of his old merch, which could be purchased. So they would just click on it. It would go directly to the Shopify page, but it was embedded within the metaverse. And any of his fans that will enter the metaverse, they would instantly get airdropped 145 unreleased songs. 145 unreleased songs where you couldn't get access to that on Spotify or on YouTube or anywhere else. On the day that we launched, within 12 minutes, the server crashed because we had 1,700 people enter the room, and they were his core fans. And this was so important because for Futuristic, it allowed him to identify who his core fans are. Because for independent artists, and maybe you guys can agree to this as well, they love data. They love to be able to analyze their data and to be able to identify if I'm going to go on a tour next year, am I going to go to Germany? Is that where my core fan base are? Am I going to go to Arizona? Am I going to go here? By being able to do this online, he had more people attend than he would a completely sold out show, because he was able to give opportunities to his core fans from Asia, another side of the world, who couldn't afford to go to America or to Europe for a tour of his for $5, right? And that's why cost is really important. If you don't overcharge your stuff, you really will give your fans the opportunity to be true investors in what you do. So I would say the biggest example was customizing a metaverse experience for one artist to cross genres.
I would not go in your direction. But as far as artists creating a PR stunt in order to gather data and make themselves, talked about, plenty of example, plenty of campaigns. I'm thinking about NSG in London. They had, like, to me, the most successful campaign, and a guy in France that's called Jules, who is one of the top innovator in the music in France. Like, he created his whole album, dropped NFTs to people who didn't even know what was an NFT, and it worked great. As far as artists are concerned, plenty of NFT campaigns that worked. As far as festivals, so far, I am not convinced. I am really not convinced, because to remind everyone, our job is to put an artist in front of his fans. And we make the best to make this experience the fullest as possible. So NFT, once again, is part of the experience. Like, you get a memory of your encounter between you and the artist. You make all kind of stuff where you interact. Like, the NFT allows you to interact more. But as a festival, if I take like a big name like Coachella dropped an NFT campaign 2 years ago, I think, or last year. The first utility was to be invited the next year. Second was to be invited the next year and get the book of Coachella from the year before. And the third utility was to be a lifetime Coachella member, like a festival goer. Well, I don't see a revolution in this. I see, again, a tool to create interaction and etc. But I don't see a revolution in making a festival, in producing a festival. So we are still trying to figure it out. What I think would be a very, very impactful utility for NFT in festivals is how to materialize your community. And it has almost nothing to do with the artist. It's more like you go to a festival, you meet someone the first day, you become friends, second day, and then you meet the friends of your friends and you become kind of a small community. And how do we keep that going after the festival? How do we keep exchanging informations, and how do we keep up to date with the festival we like so much? So these are the challenges that we were facing that could be helped by NFTs. As for the metaverse, I tried at the very beginning the one on Travis Scott on this game, Fortnite. Amazing visuals, amazing way to interact with the artist. But then, we don't have the step further. People, of course, offered me as a festival, can we make a metaverse out of your Plage Electronique or your MOGA? Yeah, but what we sell is people meeting each other. So my response to that was, I don't need a metaverse for people to live the experience in a digital way. I need a metaverse for the people to meet each other and to interact to each other. They don't need to see a show. They don't need to see a show on either goggles or a computer. They need to make the experience last longer. And to me, I'm very patient for the technology to be at the level of the physical experience that we provide. Because so far, it is not there yet for me.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot in all of this. I think the application of NFTs and the technology can go in a multiple number of ways, in the same way that it does for the potential of music and the conversation that was just had. I think the way different artists, promoters, metaverse experiences, whatever, adopt the technology is kind of up to them and their, expectation of how that might work for their audience. We're still at a time where the technology is still very early. Like, we're talking about NFTs like or Web3 like it's a specific thing where it ends up being an underlying layer. It's like having a conference about the internet. It's so broad and so wide that the need for it to get more specific and deeper, I think, becomes present. I think the examples that I've seen that are useful, a native-first approach, like a festival like Refraction, which some of you may have been to in New York around the NFTs, etc. They're using their community token and DAO governance, whatever, to enable ticket access and priority. It's a very simple step to the use cases for community and people that are going to certain shows and festivals. I think when you come at it from the perspective of a person that is doing it for many years and has built an audience and an experience without any need for that, the fit is very difficult because the inherent audience isn't native. They probably don't have wallets. They probably lose their seed phrase. Like, the accessibility isn't there, and the need to abstract the technology so that people are using services and don't know they have a wallet, but can offboard when they need to, I think becomes a more likely path for adoption for millions of people, if not hundreds of millions or beyond.
It kind of feels that for 2 years, we couldn't connect with each other. So we found all kinds of ways to connect with each other, no matter how, with technology, with NFTs, with metaverse.
The oversaturation of live performances and streams and Twitch and whatever, I think we've seen in data and in numbers that, this year there's been more events, more at least ticket sales on our platform than ever before. Last month was the biggest month in the history of the company. And that's like the response to being locked up for a period. And I really feel, especially for the younger demographics, that, miss some central years of socialization and hang out with their friends and experiencing music. And I think like traveling here for this, Lisbon, still feels somewhat like something to be appreciative of after periods of not seeing so much of the world.
No, I love to hear that, and I'm on your guys' side. I agree with, for live events, the only way it's going to be implemented and work correctly is building alongside the production like a lore and storyline when you can implement certain reward systems and a loyalty program, say. But yeah, we'll see when that actually develops a little bit further on. So, just moving on to the next question. What do you think the key challenges and limitations are with implementing Web3 technologies into the music industry, and how can we address and ensure widespread adoption?
To answer this, I'm going to ask the audience a question. Can you raise your panel if you own a music NFT? Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's probably about 20, 30 of us here, right? I'm going to pick a random person. I'll go to this gentleman here with a cap. Can you talk about the journey of you purchasing that NFT, the music NFT, and what that was like? Was it hard for you? Was it challenging? Was it easy? Take the mic. Run up. Cool.
Well, I work in the industry, so it wasn't too hard for me, but I know a lot of people would struggle to actually buy an NFT. So if I wouldn't work in the industry, I would feel like it's a bit of a hassle, yes.
I asked that question because education is the biggest obstacle that people need to overcome. The only way your fans, right, like you adopted your fans through newspapers, through TV, through radio, through Spotify, through the technology that we were all grown up with. Now these kids are growing up with TikTok, and then maybe in 10 years' time, all the kids are going to grow up with OpenSea and all these other Web3 related platforms. You need to educate your fan base. And there's a company that, if you don't know who they are, they're called even.biz. That's even, even.biz. These are, in my opinion, and I've worked with so many music companies in the Web3 space, these are the only guys who have actually done it right. They haven't spoken about NFTs, they haven't spoken about blockchain, they haven't spoken about cryptocurrency. The way that they have been able to sell the music for the artists to the fans with the motto, direct to the fan. That's their motto. Even is direct, even is for the fans. And they have a pay what you want model. So for example, an artist like French Montana, he was dropping his album Coke Boy 6 earlier on last year, and before it was released through the label and put out on Spotify and everywhere else, all of his fans had the opportunity to purchase it for as small as $4, right? And they could pay whatever they want. He made more money from that on the first 2 to 3 months of sales that he would normally get, because he gave the fans the opportunity to get loads of, I know Tommy hates this word, utilities, right? But it is important, Tommy. I think that community and the word for the utilities should not be overlooked, because it's one of the reasons why this industry will continue to propel. For me, I've been a salesperson. No, for sure, but like 100%, but like for me, I've been in the sales space my whole entire career. I didn't realize I was a community builder until the NFT space. Someone came along and they put a label on it, and they're like, this is community building, and this is what artists, specifically artists, need to do if they're going to use new technology. They need to educate their fans. They need to explain to the fans, I'm going to get paid for this directly. You're not paying my management team. You're not paying the label. You're not even paying Spotify before they gave me 0.000 whatever it is per stream. You're going to pay me $1 whole. I'm going to get the whole entire dollar. And in return, we're going to do more events. We're going to do more of this. We're going to do meet and greets. And you're supporting me, because a lot of artists don't communicate to their fans that their fans are their investors. And you should appreciate that. So education is the biggest challenge, and the more you communicate with your fans, the more you'll be able to educate them.
100% on this.
Thank you.
But I would add.
Let's debate.
The challenge is education and technology. Like, how do you make a technology that is not so intrusive? How do you make, like you said, a technology where you don't have to talk about crypto, where you don't have to talk about blockchain, where you don't have to talk about all this? How do you create this technology that guarantees a flow, you know, of like a user flow that goes well with the experience. Like we are gonna work this year with POAP at Plage Electronique, and we're gonna start a little like a hunt, like a treasure hunt. And we're gonna put some QR codes everywhere, you know, and in some weird places to test the public how, you know, with a treasure hunt in disguise, how they're going to collect NFTs for the first time in their life. But the challenge there is how, when they scan the QR code, how it becomes an NFT in a wallet somewhere. And to this day, we're still working on it with them.
It's been done.
It's
been done.
Yeah.
It works, right? Go to even.biz. It works, right? And I do not work for that company. I'm just a massive fan of Mag, who's the founder of the company. As soon as you go onto the website, you click on the album, you sign up on your Gmail account if you have a Gmail account, and then you get emailed access to the NFT.
Yeah.
And it gives you very clear instructions, because for a lot of music companies, they try to make sure that the NFT can be seen on OpenSea or Blur, all these other big like marketplaces. Create your own marketplace, but you should actually do it in a way that people will turn off their phone and it's on the black on the screensaver or whatever you want to call it, but the music is still playing. So they've built a music player, which in turn will remove Spotify and all these other places if fans adopt the mentality of buying directly from the artist.
For sure.
So it does work. All it takes is an email, or we was in a talk yesterday in the photo lab where a lady explained the best way to be able to onboard people into the Web3 spaces, one-on-one conversations. Now that's not very scalable if you're talking to 2,000 fans one-on-one at a time. There should be a way to be able to scale that, but it just takes conversation.
Exactly. But you have to create that conversation and have the right technology on your side to make it happen. You know, that's what I meant.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Just to jump in, the scan technology you're looking for to receive the POAPs does exist.
It exists, but I meant that there are still challenges. It exists, but there are still challenges. As I said earlier, I am patient for the technology to match up with the expectations of the real life. This is what I meant.
I mean, I don't have a great deal to add. I think all the things that we're talking about and that are obvious within the space, which is that usability, the onboarding, the seed phrases are a problem. I think maybe the factor to think about is, especially in music where, not to project a sense that music's not valuable, in the case of a POAP, you don't necessarily need it to be behind the most serious, multi-sig wallet ledger security. The ability for that to exist on a centralized wallet system or something, or a custodial wallet or something of that sort, where you can effectively decide if and when you want to offboard that is possibly a factor in looking at and considering the applications of the technology in scenarios in which the user journey is present and the expectation that someone needs to know anything about an NFT or Web3 or crypto shouldn't need to be there.
I agree, and I think until there's a way you can explain it to an 11-year-old and a 70-year-old, exactly the same onboarding process, we won't have the mass adoption that we need. And it will come, but in a couple of years. But anyways, guys, so in what ways do you think Web3 empowers artists to have greater control of their music and monetization, and particularly in the context of live performances?
Well, I can answer on my part as a promoter, because one of the biggest issues, we want to provide the experience to our fans who cannot attend. One of our biggest issues is the rights, because the artists don't know who is going to use their music, who is going to see their music, how many times it's going to be viewed or listened to. But for example, an NFT could be the solution to manage the right of an artist on stage. And for us, that is also a solution. If, for example, I have a DJ set of Solomon, for example, and I want to actually record and broadcast this DJ set. The fact that we would use an NFT, so the guy knows exactly who watched it, how many times, you know, and this and this and that, and still have an ownership of this content, could solve maybe a lot of problems in our discussions with the promoters and the agents and the managers and all that stuff.
Amazing. I think we are just coming towards the end of our time limit, but before we do end, I just want to ask if there's any questions from the audience for the panel.
Paul, we were having a conversation the other day, and you said something really profound that really hit me, which was we've been talking about cashless payments at bars for God knows how long, 20 years, maybe 15, 20 years. Why, in that time, we've seen incredible advances in all kinds of technology, but we still don't have cashless payments at bars, at festivals. What is it about some technologies that seem to connect in the live spectrum and then others that don't? And as a consequence, I mean, bring brilliant insights from every single one of you about what, things are working. What's the final kind of sum up that you would say this is the thing that we really need to fix in festivals that we believe Web3 could do that?
I mean, I think the question of where does it make that experience better, which is one I think you're rightfully asking and probably don't have great answers to just yet. There's trial and error, but I think in the same way that the physical experience of being at a live event is the primary, and some artists don't need social media to have a connection and have an audience. Some need to go super deep into data and can grow on-chain followings and social followings and whatever. I think it really depends, and I don't see a one-size-fits-all, I guess, brush or answer to any of these things.
And one other thing, the conversation always have to be both ways. Like, if you talk about me, promoter, how to fix things, yeah, I need more data. I need to know when they arrive, when they leave, what they consume, and all that stuff. But when you're a festival goer, do you want this information to be shared? Not really.
Well, I think the other thing that probably most people don't realize is the promoters are the ones that take all the risk on the shows. The artist gets paid whether there's 10 people there or 10,000 people there.
100%.
And I think it's probably safe to say most promoters are lucky to break even. And so the notion that we're putting quite complex technological problems on an already very difficult but passionate business is there's great opportunity at the same time, but I think especially with the technology and adoption being a minority of population, it's it's early meme is still a thing.
Sorry, guys.
To answer your question, I think Web3 is not there yet to fix problems in the live music industry. It's not there yet.
Awesome. Well, guys, that is the end of our chat here. If we can give an amazing round of applause to the panel.